All right. And let's get it started.
Okay, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order, and it's now approximately 6:40. And I just want to welcome everybody. And as we generally start these meetings, I think the members of the committee should start by introducing themselves. I'm David Ratner. I am one of the two co-chairs of the committee. I'm a former housing lawyer and now, at least aspirationally, fully retired. And I'm going to turn it over to the chief.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthias Sarsi. I'm the other co-chair for the Housing Land Use and Zoning Committee. I've been in government for about 13 years, specifically around housing, and I currently work for the New York City Housing Authority, which is always interesting. And that's it for me. So I'll pass it on to Rio.
Hi, I'm Ray McDonald. I'm a new member of the committee and I'm a law student, current law student, and I'm also currently working in the city law department doing, among other things, some housing laws.
Teresa?
Oh, and I'm Teresa Reagan. I'm a community activist. And I'm here.
Juan, would you introduce yourself?
Juan Pulnares, I'm a high school teacher for Glenville, and I've lived in Harlem since 1993. And I love this area, and I'm here to protect it, I guess. Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Awesome.
All right, so I guess the first order is to adopt the agenda. And I'm just wondering if anybody has any friendly amendments they want to make to the agenda. In that case, does anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to adopt the plans.
So, okay, I take it we'll adopt by unanimous consent unless anybody has an objection. Okay. So the next thing is the minutes from last month's meeting. Hopefully everybody received them and had a chance to look them over. I'd like to say, as the author of those amendments, if there was no participation whatsoever with it by AI. So does anybody have any amendments or comments about the minutes? So this meeting is going really well so far.
Yeah. It's the weather.
That must be, okay. So can we have a motion on that?
Were we to adopt?
Yeah.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Can we do this by
Second.
unanimous consent? Does anybody want to say anything? Okay. Minutes have been adopted. I don't know, do you want to talk about the weekly resource letter?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things, and here, let me pull this up here so I could drop it off. Community alerts. There, copy link. And paste. Oh, I can't see with wow. Did I paste it? Yes, looks like I did. All right. Just so that everybody's able to follow with me. Let me just double check. Just make sure that this is shareable. So, point. Oh, got it. Perfect. All right. So one of the pieces of literature that you'll have in front of you is going to be housing land use and zoning resources that are available to you. starting off with, this goes from April 15 to May 12th, which is when we're not meeting. And you'll have information on upcoming, events with the community board, with our general meeting on the 16th, in 2 days. Our next, Housing, Land Use and Zoning Committee is gonna be on May 12th. Next month, and for anybody who is experiencing, legal issues and would like to meet one-on-one with an attorney. Every month, we have a partnership with Palante, where an attorney, will actually sit right here in this office, every month, and they do that on a scheduled basis, so the next time is gonna be Thursday, May 7th, from 1 to 5 p.m. You don't need to have any appointments, just make sure you bring any kind of relevant documents and willingness to talk about your housing issue. After that, you'll see a series of events and different resources that are available to you. This is all catered to tenants,
Sorry,
owners,
what time on Thursday, May 7th?
1 to 5.
1 to 5, yes. After that, we have a variety of events and resources that are specific for tenants, owners, different organizations, small businesses. And this all for things that are happening within the district. So Sean Abreu is holding an HPD in your district, which it turns out we can request. So that might be something we can do in the future.
Request what percent of my team?
So the HPD in your district,
Right,
they're gonna be outside of Sean Abreu's office
oh, yeah,
on the 23rd, but talking to HPD, it looks like we could request them too.
exactly.
So I think that'll be a really good collaboration, to do an event where we could actually have them closer to here and put our names in front.
Well, we have the law office van outside there as well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a van, you're saying?
Yeah,
yeah, and apparently depending on what sort of housing issue, whether it's like code enforcement or anything like that, they'll work with you one-on-one. Yeah, so like the hub, with anything we're involved in complaints, any sort of issues around tenants' rights. Repair issues, current violations, so they got a little something for everybody, for tenants and owners. No appointment necessary, anybody can go. We also have upcoming events on what to expect on housing court, for faith-based organizations, a housing development class. City planning has public meetings, I'm just putting, their scheduled public meetings on any given month, so I'm just putting the next two that are coming. We don't have anything on the agenda, that would require us to show up, but it's always good to have. For anybody seeking to work for the city, there's a Civil Service 101 info session. We have a Department of Buildings Project Advocate Program. I know in some cases in the past, we've had some folks show up because they're either trying to work on some sort of project or they have interest in working with a project that may involve the Department of Buildings. This is a really good resource for those folks to be able to go to the Department of Buildings and actually get real-time information about how they could develop some of those projects better than we could advise. So that's a really good service. Let's see, we have,
And so,
yes,
we have this document, cause I like all those dates.
absolutely, yeah, so there's an online version of this, I'll make sure you get it too.
Well, how about for our visitors, I guess, how would they?
Can you put it in
They
the
don't
chat
have
maybe,
these.
so?
Yeah.
so maybe,
Yeah, but the links
In terms of the
are.
language.
I should link
Okay.
that to it.
Yeah. So if anybody here wants a copy of this and we don't happen to have you on our mailing list, please be sure to sign in, leave your email information, and we'll make sure you also get a copy.
Just a question about the housing court, what to expect, who's running that?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I think that one's in Oregon, that one's a nonprofit.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
What page is that?
Makes
Yeah,
me
but you on the second too.
Yeah, I can't remember, oh, no, it's Housing Court Answers, that's.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like for some of the HPD events, some of them are hosted with partners like Housing Court Answers. I think in one case they worked with Borough President Gibson in the Bronx. So that's also a really good one. And then just lastly, any upcoming city council events. So for anybody who's not familiar with community board. We have a variety of committees and we meet every month to bring everybody together. City council kind of does the same thing. So they have their own committees and depending on what is of interest to you, for us, because it's housing, land use and zoning. The upcoming three of the topics that we cover is gonna be HPD and DOB for the Committee on Housing and Buildings, NYCHA for Public Housing, and DCP and LPC for Committee on Land Use. And those comes with the next upcoming hearings. Although if you want to see what the agendas are, you could always go to the New York City Council website. And you could actually look up on their calendar what's on the agenda for that particular month. It always changes. Sometimes it's oversight hearings. Sometimes they're talking about items that may concern stuff that we talk about. But it's all worth going to. It's kind of get to hear about what's happening in the city, what your city council members are doing. To kind of address those issues and. It's just always just good information to have. So that's what I have on community alerts.
Let me say one thing about that, this is amazing, quite frankly, you're putting this together.
Very well done.
This-
The only issue I see is that all these meetings are set up at 10 in the morning or 11 in the morning, and if you're
Yeah.
working, you can't make it. That's on purpose. Cause I've never seen HPD or DOB in one of our meetings here. So if we request, bring them here, you should let them have it.
Right?
Like come up with a list of things that that they have asked.
Don't they have Zoom? They don't have the Zoom meetings?
They do, but what Juan's saying, and he's correct, it's, they're all during the day when people are working,
Exactly.
so it's very hard to be able to attend those Zoom conferences.
And it's true because you need to ask the questions, because I remember that meeting you was at on the 24th of March. I zoomed in, that's how I seen you. And a lot of questions need to be asked.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering whether we can post this on CB9's website. I suspect that would, it would be a wonderful resource to have over this trail.
That's true. I'm also currently updating the FAQ, the HLUS FAQ. So I have the outline of everything I need to swap out or change. And then adding the stuff from the workshop that we did, the zoning 101 workshop. So there's more to come. I'm still trying to see how I can integrate it, but I think that's a great idea. We should post this.
Run it by you, though. Run this by you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, thank you very much for some work.
This is a keepsake.
Be sure to frame it tastefully.
Oh, literally, I'm serious.
That would it is. So, we had asked, your city housing, well, can we see whether Jose's here? Is there anybody here from, city planning? I don't think there.
Jose may have left.
Did you see him on?
No, I mean, he may have left the department.
Oh,
Really? Well, Audrey left, we know that, but
Yeah.
Jose didn't, he said he'd see us,
Yeah.
meeting, yeah. So it's a little bit surprising. that
Can I
he's not
ask
here.
where did Audrey go?
Audrey went to HPG,
HBD.
yeah.
Did she come to regular meetings from HBD?
That'd be nice. She did not commit to doing that, but,
Is that the wrong?
Work on that.
yeah.
yes.
Son in.
I want to recognize Ms. Valori Thornton, Resident Association President from Grant Houses. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Thornton. Sweet.
Where's Barry?
Oh, he's right there.
Oh, where is he?
Oh,
Where am I? Virginia.
Oh. Hi, Barry. Here.
Where in the world is Barry? All right, so, Department of City Planning, I guess, is not gonna be a growth course tonight.
No,
Um,
and I still don't see anybody from NYCHA.
yeah, I had said to night shift they should come at 7, so.
Okay, which is fine. This is a little bit more time. International House. International House. This one's an interesting, I don't know if anybody here is coming on behalf of International House, but this one. We got an email about this, it seems like there's a few issues going on there, part of, we got an email, I don't know if this particular person lives in iHouse, but it seems like there's an issue in terms of occupancy, where I guess iHouse, because they're kind of they're a temporary lodging site. So because of the classification of what they are as a dormitory, they typically, when new people come in, they're kind of like obligated to let those folks know that they are not tenants, that this is a temporary stay, and that they have no, what's the word? No standing.
they have no tenancy rights. I think the issue, there were two issues. One, well, I think they were trying to form a tenants association or tenants union.
Yeah, they're trying to
And-
join with the Columbia Tenants Union,
Okay.
eventually, so.
And they were interested in finding out what their rights were, in terms of by the eviction proceedings. And I think also under the rent stabilization law. So we had invited them to come to this meeting, but nobody apparently was here from International House.
It was fine, we could always follow up, I mean, overall, it does seem like their last best is to both work with the tenants union. And it seems like they do need some sort of legal connection, just because it's hard to. It's hard to give any kind of advice without knowing the particulars of, if you can't put everybody in the same problem. Everybody might be experiencing something different, I think part of the issue is. You have folks who, despite being told that this is only a 30-day stay. That there are folks in graduate school and in other academic studies. That does keep them at this location for longer than 30 days, and I think that's where the gray area is kind of coming in. But again, this is kind of one of those things we gotta learn a little bit more, just to have a better sense. I think the weird part is they mentioned that iHouse has their own in-house association that's managed by the landowners.
The Tenants Association?
Yeah, that whatever official tenants association is managed by the landlord, which is mind blowing to me. Cause I'm like, alright, if you're supposed to be not even right housing as they say they are. Why do you need a tenants association? Like, I've never gone to a hotel and seen a tenants association at a hotel.
So they're on 30-day leases?
No, see,
Or
I
it's just
think
fill up then?
I think with the issue 30 days is under the RPL, if you're in occupancy 30 days or more, if it's in terms of evictions.
Yeah.
So you had, but they can't be self. So I think that was what the 30-day
Right.
issue was.
But they're not, but they are there for longer.
Yeah, they are.
So-
They're some of
So
them.
they're very
They're-
clearly tenants under the law. I see.
But and instead of a lease, they have a license agreement.
Yeah, or they call it a membership agreement.
You know, it's a license, it's designed to be a license, what actually,
Oh, a license to operate.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, I mean, but that's a legal question. Whether, whatever the agreement is a lease or a license, but clearly from management side, they're calling it a license. And, I think that the residents really need, to be hooked up with some kind of legal counsel to figure out what their rights are and whether this actually is a license or is it a lease.
The license, a tenant,
Well, it's a license agreement.
like a lease agreement.
A lease agreement is an agreement with an actual term, like, 30 days, 6 months, a year, whatever.
Yeah.
A license agreement is an agreement that allows you to occupy a place, but it's terminable at will. Meaning, the landlord or the tenant for that matter
Right.
can say,
So is that will?
I'm out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
Or you're out of here.
And it's most often found where there is an institutional relationship outside of housing between the person and the institution. So for example, Columbia faculty, I think, have license, and if you have housing by dint of your employment, it's usually a license, not a lease. And so if you get fired, you can't keep your apartment. And the luxury building on, I think, 113th or 14th in Amsterdam used to be nurses' housing for people who worked at St. Luke's. And so that's another example of the common times you would see license agreements. But my question is, are they alleging like terrible conditions, like it's not
I don't
habitable,
think-
or
I don't think they're alleging anything, Barry. I think they want to know what their rights are. I mean, which is not to say that there aren't conditions there that need to be addressed. I think, well, first of all, it's international, so they have a vulnerability, that most people don't have. So before they want to start, say anything, they want to know what their rights are. But I don't believe they came to us and said there are major leaks or anything else happening. Does not say that they don't have issues. I think they were trying to be circumspect and reasonable in their approach. So they're looking to see what their rights are, which is
yeah.
completely appropriate.
I think there was a big issue during COVID where essentially like everybody got kicked out with very little warning. So this would not be the first time. And International House was planning an expansion the last time. This was pre-COVID, but they were going to build over and above the kind of entrance to their garage on Claremont. But then I don't know if that project got shelved for lack of funding or just because of the pandemic or whatever.
Yeah, it seems like they did have a capital project in place for restoration. I didn't see anything for like new additions right there.
Addition, they're gonna knock on the garage. It was gonna be more central recording than you like to go to these for all.
All right, so, so at this point, I guess, Richie, do you want to give a report on 1727?
Yes, all right.
All right.
Yeah. So 1727, for anybody who's not familiar with this particular site, this has been a contentious site for quite a while. That culminated up until this last year when we went through a public process called ULERP, where we essentially, not just we, but different folks from different levels of government, from the community board, city council, the mayor, looked at this particular project. This is over on 145th in Amsterdam. If you see there's a building that's surrounded by fencing, it would be that one. Recently, our local council member did a video with the mayor. Proud to celebrate the fact that they'll be bringing in 200 affordable housing units. Out of those 200 affordable housing units, 120 of those are going to go to supportive housing studios, with the rest being a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. Some of them are going to go to seniors. But if we're looking at our, part of the thing that we were pushing back on was the fact that this is a project that's been worked on since before COVID. And one of the biggest changes about the land use process is, there was a recent city policy called the City of Yes. Which allowed for certain plots of land like this one to be able to build taller. So our push, from the 200 units that the city wanted to build, we wanted to build 300 units. Which is very rare for a community board to want additional housing like that. Typically, a lot of the fight is against upzoning. But we're not a neighborhood of no. We kind of see the need for housing. We see that there's a huge range for housing, and I think, you know, one of the biggest pushbacks was the fact that there was a lot more supportive housing units than there were units that could actually accommodate folks in our community. I think one of the things that they were saying was that for folks who may not be able to afford the apartments that are subsidized, that they would look to see for people who use additional subsidy. So on top of the subsidy to build the affordable housing unit, a person who may not be able to afford that rent could use their second loan voucher to additionally be able to afford that rent. Crazy. Subsidy on subsidy on subsidy. It makes you wonder how much money
Exactly.
is needed just to house a person. So, you know, our push was, we wanted a bigger push. We wanted 300 units. We wanted to expand the space. And the city prefers to pat themselves on the back. So that's the result of that. But since it's passed through a variety of processes and it's moving forward, the one of the last pieces that's coming up is tomorrow. There's going to be a hearing from HPD specifically on the land disposition agreement, which they're still using the one from 2018. The hearing is going to be on recommendations for that specific agreement. I think for my testimony, I'm specifically pushing for three things. I don't know if it's going to go through, but the idea is to try to use the agreement as a way to
Shake them up.
shake them up, but also be very clear about
Right.
how these things should move. So for
Transparency, actually.
yeah, so the three things that I'm particularly asking for is that they enter and like a memorandum of understanding. It's a non-binding legal agreement that would put them as a partner with Harlem Heritage. So that any sort of services that Emma Bowen cannot provide, they would have to refer to Harlem Heritage. And that they would have to use them as that premier partner because they're being displaced. It seemed like in response to our concerns, the mayor and the council member decided to allocate $1.4 million to a health center, not the ones that they displaced, but to a completely different one called Ryan Health. I don't know how they got into the conversation. We've been at this for almost the better part of the year, and this is the first time we even heard that organization was getting money. I don't know what the connection.
At the site,
No,
at a different site,
apparently they're gonna be nearby, but they're not gonna be at the.
we're gonna
facility.
have another facility.
That's what it
I
seems like.
think it's going to be at the 135th Street building where Emma Bowen is going to be temporarily located.
The old Claremont Theater,
Yes, the HRA, where the HRA used to be.
yeah,
Interesting.
And Ryan, you know, Ryan Health is great. They operate Sydenham Hospital
They're
site.
a health clinic.
Say that again, Barry.
I said Ryan Health is a good provider. You know, they operate the clinic at the old Sydenham Hospital. They're a network. They're a healthcare network of community focused clinics, but I also don't know how they entered the chat, so to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry, let's do this one at a time. So Barry, why don't you finish what you were saying? Go ahead.
No, just Ryan Healthcare, you know, is a network of neighborhood-based clinics. They operate one on 124th and I want to say St. Nicholas, but it's where the old Sydenham Hospital was.
Right.
And I have heard mostly positive things about them. I suspect that the council member is trying to claim that by having them come to 135th and Broadway, that is somehow dealing with the loss of a federally qualified health center that sees over 3,000 people a year. But yeah, I think it's sort of window dressing, and I'm not saying anything negative about Ryan Health. It's great that they're offering services in our community now, but I don't know that it addresses the loss of heritage.
Right.
Is that the only, that particular Ryan Health on 124 Barry, is that the money that they allocated just to that particular Ryan Health?
It's my understanding that they
Oh, yeah.
allocated money for a new location at 135th Street and Broadway.
Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
as Stephanie put in the chat, they take Medicaid and have sliding scale for the uninsured. They are, I believe, a network of federally qualified health centers like
Okay.
Heritage is an FQHC.
Okay.
Right on.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the second thing that I was requesting for was, I made specifications on the higher NYC requirements. That they not only hire from the district, specifically working with the Workforce One development, but the Workforce One Center in Harlem, in addition to the New York City Housing Authority's Office of Resident Economic Development and Sustainability, to also cover the four venture developments. So like, in that one, I'm just specifying who the partners they should be working with in terms of filling job requirements for folks in the district. And then the last thing that I'm putting down, this one's a little bit more controversial. This one is acknowledging the fact that because BRC is not from the community and there are issues from them, that we formally ask HPD to require a community advisory council specifically to address any issues that may come up in addition to a liaison, and recommending that as opposed to the 15-15 requirement for I think it's like 25 to 30 residents per caseworker, I'm specifically asking for a ratio of 1 to 15. So we'll see if that goes through. So those are the three things I'm kind of pushing for. I don't know if they'll accept it, but that hearing is gonna be tomorrow. That's not as much as I have from 1727. You wanna go to 153rd or can I go to Hancock? Hancock's much.
I never wanna go to 150.
I'll just get this one out of the way.
You know, Hancock was sold, right?
Yep.
It's been all over the paper.
Yeah,
No, well, I knew prior, but I was just saying, let him leak it, because I was at the convention.
nice.
And I said, we were just talking about that a lot, that's the one. So I said to Rev the other night, I said, well, since you're gonna be down in the neighborhood, are you gonna help me in Grand House? You know, and he said, yes, he's willing to work with me, because I said, when I went up to him before, I fell on deaf's ear.
Mhm.
So now that you're in the community and you own the building, let's get to work, bub.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so when I spoke to Mr. Faison, I mean, once he kind of was telling me that there was something in the background, I decided to just kind of stay out of that. But it was clear that talking to
Well,
Mr.
if you should explain.
Oh,
this
yes.
exactly.
Sorry.
Let me ask you something, so he got just the building, what about the lot, so he has that also?
They got both.
Oh.
They got both.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a particular lot that's been property that's been on our agenda for the last few months. Essentially, the owner bought this a few decades ago. There's a building here that was built nearly 120 years ago during a time period where the city came up with something called the City Beautiful Initiative, where their idea to address crime and bad environments is to make things pretty. So at this particular location, there's a firehouse, beautifully built, has a wonderful facade. And what the city did was when they sold this property, there was a property right next to that firehouse that says that I cannot tear this building down to make one building out of the two properties.
The city decommissioned the firehouse
Mhm.
and sold it as a private piece of property. And there's very small sliver property next door
Yeah.
that they demanded that whoever bought big property had to obey this restrictive property.
Yeah. So Mr. Faison applied to remove that restriction. And in talking to him, it was almost very clear that he was not trying to flip this for cash. I mean, he is trying to flip it for cash, but it's mostly because of the decades of how much he's had to try to work around this property. And that seems to be the biggest frustration, that the poor man was naming names of politicians from 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago that he's been talking to about this particular property. So knowing that he was talking to Dan kind of really made me happy, because I know that's a partnership that we could definitely work with. So that's the update I have on Fort Hancock. Once Nan is ready to, because now that's what they're gonna have to do with the new owner. They're gonna have to request for a new deed modification. And that's when we'll
Man is,
National
National Action Network.
yeah, which is Reverend Al Sharpton's.
Yes.
Mateen, I don't think they would need to ask for a deed modification, would they?
Only because now the original applicant is no longer the applicant.
I thought the point was that it runs with so I guess, does the deed restrict the use of the property to a nonprofit use?
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't think they need to pursue this deed
Yeah.
modification, but maybe they will, just,
Yeah, depending on future plans.
yeah. I mean, I think we're just very gratified that that Nan is taking it over and that they appear to be committed to preserving the facade of the building, which is our primary concern about this situation.
So they're going to demolish the building, except for the
no.
facade?
No,
No,
they're gonna, well, actually, usually, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for Nan, but as of right now, there are no plans other than the fact that they're now the owners of the property. But I imagine there's going to be discussions in the future.
Yeah, there is a residence above the,
Yeah, he lives there.
right,
He has private residences above, like the
right.
second, like the third and fourth floors.
Right, you know, and I'm just saying that, you know, it's not clear what Nan wants to do other than to use it as their headquarters and
That is-
how they're gonna configure
Well,
it.
they themselves are
Yeah.
moving in.
Yeah,
A tour guide, someone who works for me as a tour guide and is a member of NAN. She
Mhm.
told me that he's been talking about moving the museum that he had wanted to a site on the 145th Street lot, that he has plans to use that location for his museum.
well, this will all unfold, but it's a
Yeah.
positive change from our assumption that this property was gonna go to the highest bidder. So I think we feel like at least we're on a better course than we were before.
This is true.
Hmm. That's-
All right, so 620 West 153rd Street. If I break down in sobbing tears while I'm doing this, I hope everybody will forgive me. For those of you who are not familiar with this building, this is a building on 153rd Street between Riverside and Broadway. A developer put up a 28-story building. I think he got a CFO in 2023. And as it turned out, thanks to the sharp eyes of a former member of the community board, it was discovered that the building had been built 14 stories in excess of its legal height under the zoning resolution. As a result of that, the developer applied to the Board of Standards and Appeals for what's called a zoning variance, which is a way for the city agency, the Board of Standards and Appeal, to retroactively legalize so something that's in violation of any of the building codes or the zoning resolution. We were not notified of the application. You know, part of that, I believe, was our fault, but some of that was the developer's fault.
No,
in
that wasn't our fault. We did invite them to come, I think.
No, Lana, what I'm referring to is the application that was filed in August of 2025, which they sent by email and by regular mail. And they used an address that was on our website that was in fact the old address for Community Board 9, I think, what's it, 16 Old Fulton Street, or 16 Old Broadway. That was on our website, it should have been. But in any event, they were required under the BSA rules to actually send whatever they were going to send to the chair of the community board, and they didn't do that. They directed it just to the community board at this old address, and the email they sent was to info@MCB9, which is kind of the catch-all email address, but it was, I mean, that address was not correct. They never filed a proof of service, but we found out about it when we found out about the application like a month and a little more later, when the developer came to the community board and asked to present. And they showed up and they started talking about this variance application, and we were all like, what? We pointed out to the community, to the Board of Standards and Appeals, that we hadn't been served correctly. And that didn't give us sufficient time to hold a hearing or even to put in a complete and thorough answer. The Board of Standards and Appeals didn't seem to care very much about that. And we did the best job we could. We put in a recommendation that the variance be denied. And that the applicant be referred to DCP in order to ask for a change in zoning, which we felt was the appropriate procedure. But we also asked that if the variance was going to be granted, that it be granted with various conditions. The Board of Standards and Appeals then held a hearing, which they never notified us about. At that hearing, having only really one side in front of them, they determined, they voted to grant the variance and to adopt a formal resolution, which they were going to vote on at their, I think it was their January 12th meeting. So they then voted this, they adopted this resolution on January 12th. In the meantime, really just by accident, we found out that the developer had submitted a host of documents to BSA, which they didn't send to the wrong address. They just didn't send it to us at all. And I brought that to the attention of to the staff at BSA. And as a result of that communication, BSA just said, well, we'll reopen the hearing and allow you to submit a new recommendation, but you can only address these new documents. I spent, I don't know how much time. It was just an absurd amount of time, putting together, researching the issues, dusting off all the law books.
It was
so-
44, 45 pages.
No, it was 13 pages, but with what do we call it, exhibits, it was 45 pages. But it was, I did this with the help of Barry, I did this with help of Rita. There'll be a couple of good read-throughs, so which I greatly appreciate. I served it on, I served it on the BSA last Thursday in preparation for the reopened hearing, which was today. I went down there today to testify, and like the community board, they limit testimony to 3 minutes. And I wanted my 3 minutes. When I got down there, it became apparent to me that none of the commissioners on the board had actually read the document that I prepared. And the director of the board came over to me and he said, oh, you never served it on us. And not only had I served it on them, but I got an acknowledgement of receipt the same day. So I pulled my phone out and I said, I'm sorry, it says right here that you were served with this. So he kind of nodded and said yes. And then there was a bit of a pause. The chairperson of the Board of Standards and Appeals said, announced that they had just received our submission and they were gonna take a 5-minute break to read it.
45 pages.
Literally. Well, in all fairness, 13 pages, but it was pretty dense, 13 pages.
Yeah, it was not, I mean, I started reading it and I probably was reading it 10 minutes before I.
Yeah,
had
no,
to-
there's no, I mean, she literally said we're gonna take 5 minutes. They literally paused for 5 minutes and everybody pretended to read this.
Oh, no.
And then said, okay, we've read it. What do you have to say, Mr. Ratner? And I was like, well, I don't know what to say. I mean, I spent a lot of time working on this and I was kind of prepared for a lot of things, but I wasn't prepared for this. I did use up my 3 minutes as best I could. After it was done, she thanked me for my participation. And then basically announced that they weren't going to consider it because it was outside the scope of what was allowed.
Because of the document, because it wasn't responding to new documents.
Yeah, yes. I mean, and this was actually one of the things that Rhea kind of helped me to phrase how we were gonna explain to them.
So the end result was they didn't read it.
The end result is they didn't read it. They didn't understand that it actually was completely responsive. And in fact, what happened the reason these new documents were submitted in the first instance is a matter of course. BSA staff, when they look at an application, prepare a document called a notice of comment, which is where they essentially ask questions about the application and ask the applicant to provide them with a point by point memo addressing all of these various questions. The applicant basically didn't submit this point by point answer form, but they did submit a whole bunch of new documents. And I called up the director of the BSA, and the director is the staff as opposed to the actual commissioners make decision, and I said, you know, I see that there are all these questions that staff asked and they never responded to them. Is it okay if in my memo, I point this out to the Board of Standards and Appeals? He said, oh, absolutely, that's completely fair game. So that was what I did. I pointed out all the things they never submitted, all the questions they never answered, plus the new the truly new material which they put in their submissions, all of which had been ruled as fair game. And the commissioners, you know, as I said, they looked this thing at 5 minutes, decided they didn't want to read it. And at the end of it, what's his name, sign
Oh.
house, the developer's attorney basically said something like, I hope you'll make a quick decision, you know. And the chair of the BSA said, yes, we'll turn this around. I mean, it was I mean,
The kangaroo court.
well, I mean, before I could catch myself, I wrote an email to the director of the BSA, and I said, you know, the 5 minutes that the board chose to read a memo that it took me weeks to prepare is an insult. And I just ended it there. But you know, I don't have any experience in front of the BSA other than what happened today, so I can't, you know, trying to figure out why this happened, why this came down, is something that I can only speculate about. But the one thing that was clear is they didn't want to engage. They wanted this, you know, aside and off.
45 minutes, sometimes you just gotta be straight and to the point, David, you know what I mean? You can't be long-winded, you gotta, you know, dealing with those kind of people.
I
you
only
gotta-
had 3 minutes. I wasn't long-winded, I assure you.
I would have asked them, I would have asked a question based on the document you gave them and put them in a spot.
Exactly.
Well.
Because it
well,
would prove that they had not read it.
You know, there was no need to prove that point. These are recorded hearings. It is on YouTube if anybody wants to see it.
Uh-huh.
And there is no question that they said, we are taking a 5-minute break to read this document.
Yeah.
There's no question, you know, you can see on the time clock, if you want to look at it, that it was literally 5 minutes, and then she said, what do you have to say? You know, so the record speaks for itself.
Yeah, we thank you for all the hours you put in to produce the document.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that, but I'm sending a bill and
David, I actually think it would be worth talking to the borough president's office about this now, because in the past, they have filed Article 78s. And it is a new borough president.
Right.
That's true.
That's true.
And so, and we are technically under the borough president's office. So
Right.
I think it's worth having the conversation with the BP about if they'll take up this kind of.
Yeah, that's fine, and I believe,
Put in there.
yeah, I've communicated with the new borough president. Or at least whoever I was, I believe you that gave me a name and an email address. That was a while ago, so maybe I'll do it again. DCP, the last meeting, Jose basically said that he would ask council to look at it. And I was hoping he'd be here today so I could ask him what was happening on that front. Yeah, I'm happy to make those calls or write those emails, but this, at the end of the day, this is just more evidence that
And the
this
system sucks.
community is not a place that a lot of agencies really spend much time thinking about or caring about. And it's an outrage that there is absolutely no accountability for sticking that monstrous building up in a place that it so clearly doesn't belong.
Every time
They
you
don't
walk
live
through
there.
Riverside Park, every time I run through it, I look at it and it reminds me of a Bible story, Babylon.
This guy.
And I just despise the look of it. Beyond that, I wanna know if you guys have heard from any community board, if they have received a liaison from the mayor's office. Because, I've been asking youth about that, and I have not heard from anybody. Who has had any connection with the mayor's office. And yesterday I heard him talking about Harlem, how he's working really hard to bring affordable housing. And I know who he's talking to, and he's being lied to, and we need to have this man here and hear us, not electeds who are corrupted and
Right.
whatever. And there's people running for office, against Bayat, so we need to support people who may change things, you know what I mean? But the mayor's office is very important that we get somebody here. And I reapplied for the community board and I don't know yet, and I think the previous years by now I even had a meeting already, so. It's up.
We had a discussion, I think it maybe the executive committee meeting or it was the last committee board meeting where youth, I believe said she was gonna reach out to the mayor's office and see if, not our committee, but to the community board as a whole.
It's 4 months already.
He's had a lot of snow to shovel.
And he's
I
been
love
up
the
here a
house,
few
but-
times.
Hey,
He's been
I've
up here
had
a
my
few
hand
times.
up. Sorry, I've had my
Yeah,
hand up for
sorry,
a while.
Emma. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't see
Yeah,
that. Go ahead.
No problem. No, I just wanted, I'm glad that Barry mentioned that because I was gonna say, like, this sets a very bad precedent for these very, irresponsible, whatever you want to call it, avoidant developers coming in and getting away with this in a sense. So because again, we were asking them to come multiple times to our meetings, and this should have been under ULURP. And I mean, it's, we put in the effort, we did what we were supposed to do to protect the community's interest, and here we are. And so I think that, yeah, we should definitely reach out to the borough president, maybe I wouldn't say Abreu, but I would say maybe somebody like Cordell Clear, or somebody who's, very kind of pro justice housing type of stuff. Because this is ridiculous. I mean, the the Board of Appeal, I mean, they're not even giving you the grace of reading this. They're not even taking you seriously. That this is a travesty. It's ridiculous. And something
Well-
needs to be done. And we need to bring this up because, you know,
That's right.
the precedent that it sets is not good. And you know, I'm not going to be back to the board. I've been here for 8 years. I'm burnt out. And I did not reapply, but I would like to stay on as a public member. But, you know, with that said, I would like to help, you know, with that, because we can't just let this go. We gotta bring this to the attention
Yeah.
of somebody. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for that, and I did reach out to Cordell Clear's office about this. There was one other thing I wanted to add. I mean, as I said, I can't honestly explain what happened here, but one of the things that occurred to me as a possible explanation is that the developer hired this very politically connected law firm, Brian Cave. And the person they put in charge of this particular case, Kurt Steinhaus, was until very recently the legal counsel to the BSA. And my guess is that that was precisely why they hired Brian Cave, and why the BSA, you know, was far more willing to listen to Mr. Steinhaus. than they
Well, now
were-
wait a minute. Now I know that he wasn't, you know, with them at the time, but isn't that some sort of like conflict of
Well,
interest, sort of like
I looked it up.
attenuated in a sense?
No, it happens all the time. There are rules and regulations which have to do with making sure that people who worked for certain agencies for some period of time aren't allowed to practice in front of those agencies. But Steinhaus has been gone just long enough that he isn't barred from practicing in front of BSA. I looked into that because I had the same thought you did. This looks a little bit weird, but that's the way that's the way it works, probably in every agency.
That's horrible,
Yeah,
and they need to be held accountable.
so I tried my best.
No, don't give up though. Don't give up. You gotta stand and grind. That's like I said. I'm never gonna give up.
I hear that.
I mean. Gotta hold them accountable.
Sometimes. So the last thing I got, and this one's pretty quick, we brought it up at the last meeting, I'm just bringing it back up again. You have a hand, Ewan?
Ewan, did you want to say something? You're muted.
Oh, yeah, just a quick question. I joined late, but did you guys talk about the HPD hearing tomorrow? That you can join by conference call?
Yes, we brought it up, let me see if I can pull up.
And is anyone from the board going to call in?
I'm going on the 29th.
Yeah, I'll be there,
It's not, what's the 29th? This is a hearing with HPD on the disposition of the property
It'll be Wednesday, yeah. 2
at
weeks
10
Wednesday.
o'clock, and it's not in person. It's by phone, conference call.
right.
I can send you the email that we sent out to everyone asking to call in. And one of our members, steering committee, had Barry, do you have that to just send to me? Because I don't.
Do I have what?
The letter, the action letter about tomorrow at 10.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I sent it this late
Oh,
afternoon
yeah.
today. If we could distribute.
I'll check my email, but I haven't seen it yet.
Or so if someone would just put their email in the chat, then I could send it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I mean, I just put the link to that particular hearing on the chat.
Okay. Yeah, we've got that, but I was just curious as to the participation, community board 9 of participation. As someone just said, you know, on the 150 something site, that we can't give up, you know, as my subject line on that email was, it's not over till it's over. And until the fat lady sings, we continue to push ahead and challenge and push back at every stage until the building is occupied.
That's true. Yeah, I
And
mean,
even when the
I'll,
building is occupied, we have to monitor to make sure that they're delivering the services as they said they would, 24/7 support services and security and all of that. So, you know, it's a long haul. Advocacy is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, I'll definitely be there and I'll be presenting testimony. Particularly on 3 points of of that particular agreement. Hopefully they hear some of it and then. The idea is to address some of the community concerns through the agreement. So I'm targeting the hiring practices. I'm targeting them setting up a oh god. Yeah, community liaison with a community advisory council. And then in addition to that, requesting that the agreement mandated a memorandum of understanding between Emma Bowen and Harlem Heritage. Just noting that because Emma Bowen, because Harlem Heritage has services that Emma Bowen cannot provide, then that the idea is that they become a service coordination partner and that they
Okay,
do so through a memorandum of understanding. So we'll see if it goes
yeah.
through, but the
But my thing, it's a public owned, it's a city owned property that they're disposing at for $1 to a private developer, not to any benefit of the community. That's my opinion. And why isn't HPD listening to the community board and the community and considering the resolution as presented to come up with a project that is mutually beneficial to the constituents that they want to place in that building, but it should also benefit the community. This is public land. It's owned by us.
Yeah, no, you don't have to convince us.
So, you know, the other arguments are important, but we have to stress that HPD should respond to the community board and those organizations in the community who are asking for an answer.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, the last thing I'll leave off with everyone is the mayor's preliminary budget. So I brought this up at the last meeting. I'll bring it up here briefly. I mean, the good thing is hold on, let me post this here in the chat. So this is going to be the link regarding community boards. This is the response from the city to the wish list that the community boards send over every budget year. So what I just put down is the attachment of responses that we got back. The good news is, in terms of our committee, a lot of the budget items that was in the request that we put through actually was accepted by the agencies and supported. So I think one of the things that we'll have to do as we look for look to the next year is see which items has been approved in terms of capital items that they have approved and have said that they'll move forward. Just to see whether, one, they actually move through with them, that if they do move through with them, we could set up the priority as a continuing support. And to be able to not only monitor the things that have gotten approved through the city budget, but also looking at what things we could add for next year. Which is pretty exciting. I mean, I think one of the reasons why a lot of our stuff went through is because We have a change in administration, and housing is the priority for the mayor. So that's part of the reason why I'm assuming a lot of our stuff went through. So it'll be exciting. It's gonna be exciting when we do this again. And thankfully, we didn't actually have we didn't have too many returns. The things that got returned to us were either things that like aren't relevant to HPD, or we just had to clarify in terms of agency responsibility. Like I think in one case, we had Department of no, we had NITRO listed, but it should have been Department of Health. Little things like that, but thankfully, a majority of stuff went through. I think the thing that we'll want to ask NYCHA about, because that was something that we saw collectively, was when we asked NYCHA about garbage collection, and this is gonna blow your minds. NYCHA came back and said that they have sufficient staff to, yeah, to put out the garbage, and that the garbage is outside because the garbage collection is sanitation. Sanitation comes to responds and says that sanitation does just enough garbage pickup and that we should look to NYCHA.
That's it, back and forth.
It's a back and forth. And what happens is either way, you end up with garbage just piled up.
Exactly.
And so that might be a collaborative thing that we might have to sort out between agencies. Because clearly there's two different responses, yes.
Oh, I was just wondering, do you have like a list of like the things that were submitted and?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll post this up. Share. Boom. Share the screen. Nice, yeah, so this is the copy of it. So, I mean, if you're looking at the document itself, it's gonna show you the entire city. So just make sure you browse through, and when you get to Manhattan, just click on Community District 9. And that'll be us. So what they'll do on this is, all of our requests are divided based on the responsible agency. So I'm just gonna scroll down. We got cultural affairs, aging, education. Environmental protection, Department of Homeless Services, HPD. So for example, like with HPD, this one was one that they supports, but they can't accommodate, they need money. This one was to provide and expand affordable housing units through all available programs, including workspace for artists. So this is an example of one, there's two buckets of things that we could request for. One is gonna be for capital projects, so that's anything that you can build from the ground up. Playgrounds, that's gonna be in new buildings, things that you could actually see and touch. And then the other wish list is specifically expense funding, so that's gonna be like your typical programs, anytime you have like a service or good that's helping constituent people in the community. So what you'll kind of see as you're looking at this is it's gonna start off with the capital budget. And then right after that, it'll move on to the expense. So if you're trying to see the differences from one and the other, just make sure you keep browsing. You'll see that we'll put in our explanation for, as to why we're specifically looking to advocate for this particular type of request. And then next to it, you'll see an agency response. That'll typically be that they support and they can accommodate. That they support but can't accommodate, that they cannot support and cannot accommodate. And then they'll typically give some kind of explanation right after. Some of the agencies are really good at explaining in detail exactly why they can support you or can't support you. And then some are kind of just bizarre, which is like, oh, reach out to us at your nearest convenience, no explanation, no nothing. So we're kind of grateful that at least like with the agencies we're working with, they were pretty specific.
And accommodate means fund.
That to accommodate, yes. And in some cases, because what we saw with other budget requests is that they could support, but they can't accommodate because they need money. So then for us, what that'll look like is us pushing our elected officials and other relevant folks with funding to then fund those things that we know that the agencies are supportive of and can do something about, but they need those funding.
When is the budget due? When is the overall city?
Uh,
What's the next?
Yeah.
June.
Well, the state
Is it
budget is
June?
late,
Oh,
but for the city budget, the fiscal year starts on July first and ends on June thirtieth. So for us, the fiscal year FY 26 is gonna end on June thirtieth. So ideally, if the city does everything right, there will be what's known as like the handshake between the council and the mayor. And that's supposed to happen before the new fiscal year. As we're seeing in the state budget, they're not really doing anything on time. I'm kind of hoping that the city does get stuff on time, but you never know. This is a new administration. I don't wanna jinx it, but we'll see. We'll see.
The thing that's worth noting for us in this process is the city council is now holding a series of public hearings on the portions of the budget that each committee is responsible for. And those public hearings allow public testimony. So in the past, we've used this, for example, to great effect to force the city to confront the issues in the tenant interim lease program. I think it was 2017, we showed up and we showed up with like 30 people to testify on this. And that kind of kicked off this 9-year long saga that's gotten us to the place where the city is finally funding those conversions and doing them the right way. So it does pay to show up and testify at the budget hearings at the city council.
Definitely. Sure.
About that participatory budget.
Oh, that's a whole other mess.
Yeah, so I mean, if you voting to find out how you can spend $1 million,
Mhm.
why can't they accommodate for some of the?
You're asking a question that I asked 9 years ago when they first brought this up. It all sort of depends on the council member, because it's not mandatory
Can
for,
you explain what we're talking about?
yes. Participatory budgeting, so every council member, I think, don't quote me on it, but I believe they still receive $5 million in capital allocations, and I think there's a formula on the expense. I think it's somewhere around 750,000 that they get.
These are discretionary funds.
Yeah, this is funding specifically from your city council members, and they get to pick and choose different things that they might want to fund. So if you're a nonprofit organization, you might be looking for some expense funding to support some of your work that's happening in the neighborhood. If you are, in the process of advocating for, new construction or things that are tangible, then you might be asking for capital funds. And so what participatory budgeting does is typically a council member chooses where these monies goes. What this process does is they take 1 million out of that 5 million and they go to the community and says, community, this $1 million is for you to pay. So very early on in the year, typically around the fall, they'll set up like these idea sessions to kind of get different ideas of things that should get funded. They'll recruit people who wants to work on those ideas and turn them into actual like projects that can get voted on. And right around now, I believe this is the week that participatory budgeting voting week is happening. So now with the projects that have been, usually when the projects become projects, they have gone through the city agencies checked it out and they're like, yep, you could put this as a thing on the ballot. And then there'll be a listing of stuff on the ballot that anybody who lives in the community, I think the age limit is 14 and up. And you have to live in the district. It may have changed, don't fully quote me on it, I haven't participated in a while. But that's the idea, is you'll have these listing of things and then the projects that has the highest votes are the ones that go through and get funded specifically through that BB process. Yes.
A cynical take on it would be it is money that the council members use to attempt to get community engagement on civic issues rather than to actually like produce results, although the projects themselves are not necessarily bad, but the outcome is usually that the better organized and usually more affluent parts of the district wind up getting projects for their schools funded, and
Yep.
the parts that vote in this process less get less. So they frame it as like a good government thing. It's really not.
No,
But
yeah.
you know, whatever.
I hated it so much that I had 7 nature developments in the council district, and what we did was, knowing that the schools were doing what they were doing, we kind of ended up grouping our stuff. So for example, we had 3 nature developments in downtown Brooklyn, 4 in Williamsburg. So what we did was we were like, let's do one project. Shoot, make it 500,000 and we'll say it's beautification. And then folks from the 3 developments voted for that one project, and that's what was able to get the numbers to essentially overwhelm the schools. And so like for a while, my council member would kind of get pissed because most of the money would go to public housing. So he would extend the PV. So like most council members only do 1 million. He would extend it to like 1.5 just so that more projects go through. Because
Okay.
you typically want maybe like up to 5 projects to get funded because they're kind of like smaller dollar type projects. But we went all out. We were like, no, 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 go for the 6-figure stuff. We'll figure out how the money gets distributed later. But at least that way we had all the developments working together. And that was like completely new for a lot of folks because we saw like when you voted separately, you had no chance. But when everybody voted as a block,
Right.
we wiped the floor, totally wiped the floor. But that's the reason I hate PV. Yeah, but that's all I have on the preliminary budget. Again, I put a copy of this particular report on the chat, and we could also share this. It's also online for anybody who's going to New York City Office of Management Budget. And you can kind of see the overall budget report. So let me stop sharing. And that's all I have for new business.
We still don't have anybody from Nightshade here, is that correct?
Yeah.
No.
It's still there, I believe.
No,
No, I'm-
what if the management representative,
Yeah.
who was gonna present them? I see them as phone.
Yeah. Looks like we might have to yell at Brian tomorrow. And I was so excited too. It took us 3 months to get them. All right.
All right, so old business RTO Hamilton Theater Task Force. I don't think anything is new there.
Yeah, no, I think Walter gave an update that the folks that he was working with, Ashkenazi, I think it was, they're no longer responsive.
He was gonna check with Danny Cohn.
Yeah, oh, Dan Cohen, yeah, from Apex. But yeah, and we thought we heard something and now it's a little silent.
Legislation we are watching, I don't know that we have anything.
Same.
Does anybody wanna?
Maybe something that's sort of related. So my HDFC had an emergency meeting with all the shareholders about maintenance increases. In large part due to the increases for insurance, building insurance. I know we've heard throughout the years that all the HFCs are struggling with insurance. I everyone has been struggling with insurance right now. I didn't realize that our insurance had went up 5 times the amount since the end of 2023. And apparently there was an insurer who was insuring most of the HDFCs, and they got out of the market at the end of 2023. So my understanding is that in the governor's budget, she is targeting automobile
insurance.
insurance, yes. But I think what would be a greater impact for our community would, to write something or to target our electeds to ask them to support, homeowner insurance and building insurance, specifically for HDFCs or any other, building that is meant to prices low.
Liz,
Sorry, Barry,
so
what?
there's a deeper backstory to some of this, which is that for years, our friends at UHAB have kind of coordinated HDFC specific insurance with like one insurer that happens to donate a shit ton of money to UHAB.
Right.
And so Andres Orejuela, who comes to this committee frequently, oh, and he's on now.
Yeah, I'm
uh,
here. I'm here. I'm listening to you. Be very nice to you, Hab, please.
uh, yeah, we love UHAB.
I don't think, Barry, I don't think we had you have though.
You know, this is a national trend. And it has to do, what I understand is that it has to do with climate change. And that basically, what's happening is that the insurance industry is distributing the new risks that have been engendered by climate change throughout the country. Every building in the city of New York is experiencing the same thing. It's not.
Right, but but there are different things going on in New York State that's different than other states, and one of them is that New York State housing, building insurance is a no-fault state. Meaning that if you have insurance and you have scaffolding up, and you hire a contractor. And that contractor goes out and has 4 martinis and falls off the scaffolding. It's the fault of the building, it's not the fault of the worker. It's a no fault state, that is my understanding of one of the major reasons why building insurance is through the roof in New York.
Well, I think that's probably workers' comp as opposed to.
No, it's the reason why insurance companies are charging an arm and a leg.
Yeah, David, Liz is right. In part, it's this scaffolding law, right? That the trial lawyers fight tooth and nail not to have like changed. We're one of the only states that does that. That drives up the cost of construction, which drives up the replacement cost for buildings in New York, which drives up the insurance premium. But the other thing is, so Andres, like if you shop around for insurance, I think Andres found that like you can usually get it is a national problem, but not a 400% increase.
Yeah, I think so. Barry's right in the sense that that I spoke with a sort of small broker insurer 3 years ago, when the West Harlem Development Center had an HDFC resource center and a meeting about it. And this broker explained to me that he could not understand why UHAB's insurance was as expensive as it was and providing very little coverage. Now, the insurer that Barry mentioned, I don't know if Liz, these were your covers, are Gallagher. And so what has happened is Gallagher is like, for those of you who know insurance, Gallagher is one of the biggest insurers in the world, and they're getting out of insuring buildings like HDFCs because there's not much money to be made in doing it. And so I think because HDFCs are such a small profit margin for insurers, a lot of them are exiting the market. And what Gallagher was probably doing through the UHAB program was trying to encourage people to leave their insurance. It was twice the price of what the smaller insurer offered. But to Liz's point, well, Barry's right. So we found an insurer that year who offered us 45% savings with way better coverage. Something was definitely off with that, the former insurance that we had. But there is a new company started here in the city in which a group of co-ops has decided to start insuring one another. I can't recall exactly their name, but John Crotty is one of the founders, and John and others have been making overtures to politicians, and I think Mayor Mamdani mentioned this just yesterday at his meeting at the Schaumburg. The city is looking into the mayor is looking into what the city can do to help provide insurance at sort of a larger level for building owners, right? Because I think holding landlords accountable also means making their lives easier. And yeah, so if you want, Liz, I mean, I can provide.
Yeah, if you would send me what you have, because our insurance, what we were told, I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore, maybe it was last week.
Yeah.
That our insurance went from 36,000 a year to 124.
Not bad.
That's big.
Did they also lower the limits of liability?
I have asked for all of the documentation, I haven't received it yet, I actually texted my board president while I was here and I was like, you guys never sent me this information. I'm at the community board meeting now, but I think it is something like, we usually do have HDFCs on the agenda. And it would be good to continue to come back to this, and Andres, if you would send me that information so we can specifically look into it. But I do think trying to support other HDFCs, because I assume, other people have come to this committee with the same issue over the course of the last couple of years.
Well, and to your point, Liz, it's an opportune moment to make that sort of request from, City Hall and City Council, because it sounds like they're already aware of the problem and
Yeah.
want to take action. So, yeah, I'll send you Michael's email. He'll be very responsive.
I appreciate that, thank you.
No.
I do know that there are groups that are targeting the governor in terms of the scaffolding law, but also to encourage the governor to consider building insurance reform in New York State.
Oh.
And I know that I'm good authority.
So I'm sorry, the scaffolding law makes buildings.
Reform.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
it makes buildings liable for the negligence of. the people
it's a
put-
no fault state, that is my understanding.
It's not so much buildings as I understand it, it's the employer. And maybe it attaches to buildings, but the effect of it is to drive up construction costs. So just like when car costs spiked during and after the pandemic, and then insurance followed, because if they have to replace your totaled car, they're paying more for a car to replace it. Insurance costs are following construction costs, because if your building burns down and the insurance has to pay to reconstruct it, it's now that much higher. So it's one of those like loops. And I believe the first part is through construction costs and then the insurance follows.
Yeah,
David, I'm just thinking it's a part of the labor law that just buildings and property owners are held absolutely liable for certain injuries.
Yeah,
What grounds that?
Labor law section 240.
yeah, like I know at NYCHA, because it's a particular problem, and I think this is meant to try to also address that is. Because of that issue with the scaffolding law, unionized NYCHA staff, like maintenance, cannot go on the scaffolding. They have to hire a separate vendor to specifically do any sort of cleaning or maintenance on that scaffolding. So because you have to hire an outside vendor, NYCHA's costs just to even keep the scaffolding up goes up just based on the use of the vendor. And if there's a push to do regular cleanings, because that was one of the biggest like complaints, is that people throw stuff over the building and it lands on the scaffolding. So I think
Fire hazard.
yeah, so like NYCHA's pushback with that is with the vendors they currently have scheduled, it already increases the cost to the point where it's almost unaffordable. And by making, I guess, the required contract much more regular in terms of the maintenance, it brings up the price to a point where even they can't kind of like cover anything. And so I know on the NYCHA side, they're also kind of dealing with the pushback on that too, so hopefully this addresses a lot of that.
Yeah,
'Cause I know it's definitely an issue all around.
just to add to what you were saying, Barry, our insurer has raised our premium each year in line with the construction costs. So that sounds like that's their big concern. Um, mm, yeah.
All right. Other developments that we're watching.
Did
I
you
don't have
all
any.
discuss 650 and what happened there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's too painful, can't do it.
I think we should reach out to URI. Their project on 130th is progressing, and we were in conversation with them about doing a larger building on 129th. I haven't heard from them in a while, so we might want to just reach out and say, hey, you had this project coming up on 129th Street. We suggested you make it bigger with more affordable housing. Have you looked at that? You said you were going to get back to us, etc. And I think what happened was we were in conversations and then City of Yes happened and they're like, okay, well, do we even need a rezoning or can we just use City of Yes? So I think it's worth inviting them back.
Who's URI there?
Urban Resources Initiative. They are a shelter and affordable housing provider to women and families who have survived domestic violence.
They're doing a project on city-owned property or this is?
No. So it is a brownfield site that they acquired, and they are, I think, getting public financing in part that covers the soil removal because it was, the site of like fuel tanks or something. So they're removing all the soil and they're building two buildings, one of which is a shelter on 130th Street. The other is permanent housing, some of which is supportive, some of which is affordable. But it's not on public land.
Liz, can we get any contact information or history on this from the committee from last year? Because I don't know anything about this site. I don't know if the team does, but I mean, who to reach out to, what the,
Yeah, I'll send a reminder, find it.
thank you.
Nice.
I am, if we're still on, projects we're watching. I am seeing that there are, new filings related to 142nd Street, and I'm just pulling it up now. So if you wanna keep going, I will dig while I'm here.
Was just wondering if you guys noticed that building, we had a very nice gentleman and his daughter come to meet us, I think 2 years ago, Barry. And he proposed the church that did the funeral for Malcolm X on 147, 148.
Yeah, 1763 Amsterdam, the dots
Yeah.
with the father-daughter.
Close to finishing, right?
I believe so, but you're right. We should reach out to them and find out how that project is coming. And
Yeah,
I
it
have
looks
those contact informations. I can send them to you guys.
It looks really awesome, but yeah, the housing situation, because they were very determined to allow the people, because of what they did for the community, to have market rate housing for them to rent and make money, make a profit out of that. And they were willing to also give them affordable housing. And I remember they were talking about studios and whatnot, and they were really good people.
Yeah, there's a much longer story that we don't have to go over now, but the community board arranged a deal where they are establishing a small community benefits fund and they are taking a market rate building that they own up the street and they are agreeing to lower the rents and make it rent stabilized. So we negotiated this in exchange for a letter of support supporting the project. This was a many-year saga where like we had a deal with them that they were going to sell it to Broadway Housing, and then the Attorney General came in and like took a it was a whole thing. We don't have to get into it, but it's 1763 Amsterdam on 147th Street, like Juan said.
Oh, is there an agreement in writing on this?
Yes.
Okay, so is there a way that Matina and I can get a copy of this
Yeah,
agreement?
it was yeah, I'll see if I have it, but Eutha should have it because it was passed in like 2022 or 3.
All right, so, Bill,
Yeah.
and till next, so. We have anything on?
142 have taken out permits to put up scaffold at on the corner of 142 and Riverside Drive. So that was there are 3 row houses that they took down after a failed Euler to put up a oversized building. They haven't done anything with the.
They
site,
wanted
right?
an R9A because Mark told them to put it in for an R9A so that he could take credit for the community when he knocked it down to an R8A, but they actually only wanted an R8A. And we voted no because we were in negotiations for more affordable housing, and then they kind of like got weird and stopped talking to us.
Well, there were also no, because that was part of the West Harlem rezoning and that block was downzoned on purpose.
Well, right, that's why it wasn't as of right to begin with. So we downzoned it. A year later, they started buying these properties and tearing down row houses that are part of the West Harlem Historic District application before landmarks preservation.
Yeah.
And they were harassing out their rent stabilized tenants and
Including me.
yes. So yeah, it's a
So-
longer story,
So
but
what's going on? There's a new filing for
For
scaffolding?
scaffolding,
So
yeah.
what do you think the significance?
they want to build like an 18-story building is probably the significance.
Of putting up, oh, you're not talking about sidewalks
Or
scaffolding?
14.
Sidewalk, yeah, so that's what the permits were for, sidewalk scaffolding. There's no buildings there on that corner anymore. I couldn't tell you.
So what would we be looking into as far as that goes?
I think just monitoring the situation, and I don't think there is
I
anything.
mean, go over and take and do an
Until
eyeball.
they, right, you can go over and see what's
Okay.
happening, I don't walk down there anymore,
Okay.
I can.
Your cats are all safe, Liz.
What's that?
Your cats are all safe, so you don't walk down there anymore.
I mean, my cats are probably no longer living there, but.
I think we should flag it for the borough president's office, and I think if there's a follow-up, we should really follow up with LPC on the West Harlem on the historic district that we did the letter of support for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now they have a new commissioner from within who is familiar with the area. And when I read the notice last week, I thought of reaching out to her. But I don't know. To be honest with you, I wanted to, and I was trying to convince myself to. I'm a little bit depressed and dejected because, nobody else seems to care about the historic fabric. When I'm present company excluded, but you know what I mean. Developers come in and they do whatever there's no support from the electeds. And sometimes I question myself as to why do we do this, you know?
And what's
It's just so hard.
Ewan, wasn't Lisa Savage on that last meeting with
Yeah,
Landmark?
yeah, she was, yeah.
And she
Yeah.
was nasty to us.
Yeah, she was sort of with Carol, saying, oh,
In New Orleans.
right, she
Lisa
was
Savage.
not very encouraging, in terms of our proceeding, and
No, when
she
it-
was the one that
when
that
it-
gave us those 2 buildings and said, well, that's it,
Right,
But,
900 buildings and we're gonna landmark 2 of them.
Yeah, yeah, I would like to do that, but not right now. I want to see what happens with 1727 at the end of this.
So,
Um,
Lauren, what would,
Yeah, I don't think it's specific to Harlem, but I think we walk and we see so many beautiful buildings. I think people care, they just don't have the way to connect the dots and where do I go and what's the point?
I
So
guess,
a person in my building, she asked me to come to these meetings and I said, apply.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then there's another problem with these deadlines, because they take you out for a year. So by the time you come to the next year, if you miss the deadline, you're kind of out of the blue. Out of the blue, having to plan yourself, how do you get back to it? But I think the coming to the meetings, not as a member, but just as a visitor first, really helps a lot. It opens you up to what local government is about.
when I said people don't care, even sometimes amongst the new owners, you see, it's a different demographics and a different interest that's buying these historic, these row houses, especially the ones that are not protected, They're LLCs, developers, they're more about how much cash they can get out of the house, out of the building rather than, restoring it, and many of them are being turned into student housing or worse, Airbnb. And they're just not. It's ironic that when this was a Black community and nobody had the money to preserve these houses, that there was a much higher interest of making sure that outside looked good and the gardens look good and the sidewalk, tree pits look good. And now there's so much money here, except for a few exceptions, the rest are just exploiting the community. And they're taking out and not putting back in anything, whether, upkeeping of the property, or even helping with community issues because they don't live here and they don't vote here. And that is the depressing thing about it. So I have to kind of be motivated again, to pursue this. I want to, but I'm not quite there yet.
That's fair. All right. Do we have anything additional on Till? Wait, are we up Till?
yeah, so,
Yes.
I think we're now on Morning Side.
Morning side.
Till is, did you ask about Till?
Yeah,
Yes.
HPD approved a lot of money per unit, and they're doing a cluster of units in our neighborhood first, or our neighborhood in CB12 and CB10, which is a good thing. So far, even though there's been a change of administration, the victories won on the Till front seem to be stable and not changing.
Guys.
The cluster of money.
Is there a question about cluster?
No, I was saying, you said they approved a cluster of money. There's money somewhere coming in, huh?
No. A cluster of buildings.
Oh, okay,
And
buildings, I thought you said money.
no,
But
this
there is
money
money.
though that they've budgeted is money they've owed these buildings for like 30 years. So
Oh, wow, okay.
Well, the cost of building is not cost of money.
Right.
Got
Okay. And then do we have any updates on the Morningside Heights Community Coalition?
Well, that's usually Michael.
Usually my.
Yeah, oops.
Um,
I mean, he can serve.
well, I think it was just the, not quite housing land, but the subway. Elevator.
Yes.
Elevator agreement has been
approved, right?
approved, yeah.
Yeah.
they've agreed.
Okay, so you can send that.
We got one subway.
Yep.
That was cool. Yeah,
Right?
it's very exciting. The gates, we still have no updates on. The judge is taking.
That's if they're gonna add like the new, like, air, like the new.
No, the gate, well, the gates, the Columbia gates being,
Oh,
well, the lawsuit
Yeah.
about.
oh, there is one.
Are they gonna, oh,
Okay.
One of the
That's
plaintiffs
what's
of
pretty
whom
great,
is,
that's the whole
you're
thing.
approved, well, yeah, that's basically what's debated.
well,
We'll
that's
see.
still up in the, still up for debate whether they're gonna open up the gates or not?
Yeah,
You're.
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's.
Have you seen the plans for the elevator, what that's gonna look like? Oh,
I haven't seen.
Yeah.
They're not.
Right now, they just agreed to even do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's just that.
And so I saw an announcement about that. Would you mind elaborating on who came to the agreement and what a bit more about it? It's something that people have been discussing at this meeting for 10 years.
This is fair. I know a little bit less detail other than that what was on the email, but I
Yeah,
know this was something that was pursued for quite a while. And from what it seems like, it seems like the agreement is that between Columbia and I forgot who the
the
second.
MTA. So
The
this
MTA.
this is something that both Community Board 9 and MHCC had pursued for since in a serious concerted way since 2018. And so, Columbia under the Community Benefits Agreement had an obligation to widen and update the escalators. I have no idea why an elevator wasn't included in the CBA when it was being written or drafted. And so, but the MTA, due to litigation settlements and also hopefully a desire to do the right thing, has been greatly accelerating their investments in making the subways ADA accessible. And so there was a renewed interest on the part of the MTA. Columbia had been experiencing a lot of pressure from us. And so, in the end, with the help of Danny O'Donnell and Micah Lasher and Jordan Wright and Cordell Clare, all the state electeds were putting pressure on the MTA. And so then it was just a long, drawn out negotiation between the MTA and Columbia as to who would pay for what and how much. And so Columbia is paying for the elevator from the street up to the mezzanine level. And then the MTA, I believe, is paying for the elevators from the mezzanine up to the platforms.
Oh, thank you.
I thought there already was an elevator up for the.
No, there's escalator.
There's escalators. Anything.
Yeah, there's no elevator at all at that station.
There's no elevator. So will there be two separate elevators? Is that?
Yeah.
There will be 3.
Oh, 3. Oh, right.
So
Downtown,
two
uptown.
platforms, yeah.
One on
Yeah.
each side and then
Right.
one on the other. Although, no.
No, that doesn't make sense. You
Yeah,
guys,
yeah, yeah.
no.
It would have to be.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have a building itself
Right.
bring you up. Because otherwise you're inside the platform,
Yeah,
then you need to pay your fare.
right.
Unless you pay in the elevator, and then that can take you up to the
Yeah, I think-
uptown or
I'm
downtown.
gonna redesign that.
That's why I wanna know if you get plans, please send it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, the MTA will brief the board. And UTHA has a very good line of communication with the MTA because we are not quiet with them.
Yeah.
And I'll send you the email about 129, 135.
Alright, you got the pictures for the lot of 149 that I sent you?
I forgot there was one.
Did you
other
send them
thing that
via
I was gonna
email
talk
or-
about, Unrelated.
No, I will.
Time.
I will. I sent it to you in a text, so I'll
Oh.
send it.
All right.
Yeah. We're good.
All right, Maria, did you wanna bring clear?
Yeah, so this was something that I learned last week, actually, it's just about, The ballot initiatives back in November, when we passed the resolution disapproving of the initiatives 2 through 6. I was talking about this today with some of the people I was working with for the law department. Apparently, we're not allowed to do that under campaign financing because it's considered a use of city resources for electioneering. So I was talking about, well, I was talking about it because I supported 2 6 anyway, but apparently this was a problem in the law department and they sent some angry emails over and like, no, the community boards aren't allowed to do that. And I know that's a general thing. Okay, I feel like maybe we should know about that. But I thought that was kind of strange seeing as we're not actually using any resources, but anyway,
Weird.
yeah.
So why is it not a misuse of city resources for the Charter Revision Commission to be city funded to put these things together?
Well,
Right?
because so the thing is that the CRCs also cannot say you should vote for these. That's the weird part of it, which is strange because like they can talk about what is in it and heavily imply, but they can't themselves actually. The professor running like the course that I'm taking where I'm working there was the counsel for the CRC on this. And she was like, yeah, no, we could not make any statement saying vote yes. Which was really weird. So it's a strange law that's going that operates for that. But
Very odd.
yeah. Anyway. There's a whole bunch of interesting things happening with the CRCs for this year, so we'll see if this comes up.
Yeah.
You know, there didn't
Yeah.
used to be a Charter Revision Commission annually. I'm just going to
Yeah,
observe.
but now they're trying to prevent the. There was one last year where where Adams was trying to, the city council was trying to get a CRC that would make all appointments subject to city council advice and consent. And so now I think there's just going to be ones to push that out every year. We'll do that.
Fascinating.
All right, so I guess Barry, you're the only public member left standing to have anything you want to report on?
I don't think so. I think actually the one thing to report on, which is not a public member thing, is that Columbia has informed Palante that the funding in the community benefits agreement for the legal services for tenants has been exhausted. So I think there's a longer story to that and how they kind of wasted that money for a good near decade. But I think the community should be we as a community board that negotiated the CBA should be saying these are critical services. You're displacing people. You need to help pay for the legal services to not cause secondary displacement.
Isn't there $20 million left in that fund?
That's an affordable housing fund. That's kind of a capital fund. 10 million of that is with HPD and 10 million of that is with the Development Corp. They financed the development of an affordable housing thing in CB10, which we were not happy about, but they got paid back that money plus interest. So it's actually a little over 11, I think it might be 12 million in the affordable housing fund out of the original 10 that they've received. So, but that, again, that money is kind of more of a capital fund rather than a expense fund.
So that's pretty much that. I mean, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait, can I, wait,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to put something on the radar that, with this whole deed theft, I'm sure you've seen it in the news. Council member T. Ossie from Brooklyn, is, trying to, put pressure on Kathy Hochul to enforce this moratorium, similar to the moratorium that, it's like, it grants, I think, like a stay and eviction processes that we had during COVID, but this would be applied to homeowners that are in the throes of, potential deed theft, the victims of deed theft. So I don't know where that is, and I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I can send it to you, but I wanted to put it on our radar as well because, this is a citywide issue. It's been going on for many years, especially affecting, Black and brown homeowners. And it's just something that maybe we can write a letter of support or something like that. So I just wanted to put that on the radar. So that's it.
Okay, can you send us something that we can put on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes, I'll send it to you guys.
Okay, great, great.
Hey, just briefly, the mayor mentioned yesterday that the city is going to start an office of deed theft. I think he said they'd be starting it within the next 3 months. It looks like there's going to be a response. And the last thing is, I don't know if anyone got a notice about the meeting or the agenda by email. I usually do. I didn't get one this time. I recognize we're all busy, but it's very helpful for me just to keep track of things. So thank you to whoever usually sends the message, and please, please include me in the next one.
Yeah, I don't think anybody got it. We have a kind of strange arrangement with Signy because neither Martina or I are MailChimp savvy, and her whole email blast is on it. So we need, we should have done better follow-up on that. So apologies to everyone.
Also,
So,
Andres, the city has an Office of Deed Theft. It's called the Third Party Transfer Program.
That's a good one.
Wow.
great. So,
Motion to adjourn, second.
Second.
I think it's unanimous consent, so.
8:43.
43, right.
This year, it's you.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank-
Good wings. With things like that, good wings.
Okay, I gotta run,
Come on,
but
angel.
I'll see you guys
See
soon.
me sad, missed it.
Too.
He said that there already is an office of deed theft, which is,
Third party transfer.